While I was in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, I met a very interesting scholar. Dr. Ahmad Farouk Musa is originally trained as a cardiac surgeon. He teaches at Monash University, but his real passion is the Islamic Renaissance Front, Malaysia. He's the founder and director of this organization, and on their website they have an incredible amount of literature. He has written prolifically over the last 20 years on interfaith harmony, on issues of Christian-Muslim peace, on issues of Shia-Sunni peace, and he has a lot to say about Islam. You can visit his website right here, irfront.org, category articles English. You'll be able to find those on the website, etc. It has an enormous amount of literature. It has different videos, etc., conference proceedings, and so on, that I think you would benefit from. While I was there, I had a cup of coffee with him, and I took his interview. I asked him why he set up the IRF in the first place, what Islam and secularism mean to each other, why Islamic civilization has declined over a period of time, what are the main reasons, and what we can do to revive Muslim or Islamic civilizations rather than just one civilization. There are many. And he had some very interesting things to say. So over to the interview. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are sitting here with Dr. Farouk Musa, who here in the city of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, has been writing, I would say, prolifically on questions of tolerance, on questions of political Islam. Very nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Dr. Farouk.
Thank you,
Thank you for inviting me to this cafe. Could you tell us about how you began your intellectual journey to writing about the issues that you write about, interfaith harmony and tolerance, and the role of religion in our society and in our lives?
Well, to be honest, when I first came to KL, I was in the East Coast before, East Coast of Malaysia. I was teaching over there, but then when I transferred to KL around 2000, the year 2000, the new millennium, then I was involved with what we call a Muslim Professionals Forum. It consists mainly of doctors, specialists, and also lawyers and architects, accountants, yeah. So we are all professionals, and we sort of wanted to promote this idea of Islam, which is moderate and inclusive as well. At that time, there were other Islamic movements in this country. We're not talking about PAS, what we call as Parti Islam Malaysia, the Islamic political party in this country. We're talking about non-governmental organizations, right? Movements. There are other Islamic movements, independent movements over here, but and people were asking, why the need for MPF, the Muslim Professional Forum. I guess it was at that time because of the need for intellectuals and academics to voice out their opinions on matters of Islam, and not to leave it to some Islamic workers only that. It started, and I was a founder, one of the founders of this Muslim Professionals Forum. After several years, in 2006, we had one big issue in Malaysia at that time. It was a case of Lina Joy. Perhaps those outside Malaysia are not aware of it, but Lina Joy basically is a woman who's a Muslim who married a Christian husband and wanted to convert to become a Christian.
I see.
She says that she believes in Christianity, and she wanted to become a Christian and wanted to denounce Islam.
Right.
So it became a national issue.
Yes.
Because to be considered one as a Malay must be basically he who professes religion of Islam,
Oh, I see.
who speaks Malay language,
I see.
and who adheres to the culture of the Malay society.
I see.
So that's the definition, the constitutional definition of a Malay. So in this world, I think there are only two races that are considered as Muslim. When you say that particular race, definitely they are Muslims. They cannot be Christians, they cannot be, in any other religions. One would be Malay, the other one would be Bosniaks. Bosniaks are basically 100% Muslims. You cannot find Bosniaks Christian or something like that. So I guess, it's very, very sensitive issue over here because it involves the constitution as well. And at that time, it became a hot topic. People were debating about this particular issue, not only among the Muslim circles, but also among the non-Muslim as well, about freedom of religion and freedom of conscience. So there was a movement, a coalition of Muslim organizations. They call themselves the umbrella. It's called as Pembela. Pembela means that someone who basically defends the right of another person or something like that. So this one, Pembela, is defending the right, the Muslim basically. So MPF, Muslim Professional Forum, wanted to be part of this Pembela, this coalition, to basically to say that Lina Joy should not leave the religion of Islam and shouldn't have the right to profess Christianity and to be out of the religion of Islam, because once you're Muslim, you cannot leave the religion.
That would be considered apostasy.
Apostasy, yeah. So it is not acceptable in this country. Somehow or other, we had a debate among ourselves in Muslim Professional Forum about this freedom of conscience and freedom of religion. I took the stand that, La ikrah fi din means that the verse in the Surah Al-Baqarah, La ikrah fi din, قد تبين الرشد من الغي فمن يكفر من طاغوت ويؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى. So this particular verse basically was to say that there shall be no coercion in matters of faith.
Yes.
Meaning to say that anyone who wanted to profess Islam must be out of his or her own conviction.
Yes.
And if that person doesn't have any conviction in Islam anymore, there is no rule to say that they cannot leave the religion of Islam. Because even in the time of Prophet, we have seen that there are probably a few of them who left Islam, and the Prophet allowed them peacefully to leave Islam.
Is this the Surah Kafirun from which you're quoting?
No, the Surah Al-Baqarah. The verse I quoted just now was from the second chapter, Surah Al-Baqarah. Yeah. So because of that, so I even quoted a few other scholars, including a very famous scholar, Sheikh Taha Jabir Al-Alwani, who wrote the book. The title of the book is La Ikrah fi Din, No Coercion in Matters of Faith. And I quoted another scholar from this Canada, who basically had a similar idea and belief in this matter. So what happened was that we decided to invite him, to invite a scholar from Canada to come over here to Malaysia and had a discussion about this matter. So we had a discussion, and at the end, he basically defended his position that in this particular matter, no one should be coerced to have the faith of Islam, and if that person doesn't believe, then that person is free to leave Islam. Saying that doesn't mean that we want everyone to, like some people say, that it's a floodgate. Like we are basically opening up the floodgate for people to leave Islam in Exodus. That's not the case. That's not the case.
It's just saying that it's a matter of the heart.
Yes. In fact, I said in one of my talks, I said that I'm a Mac user, you know, a computer Macintosh, a Mac user, right?
So am I.
I'm a Mac user, and I've been Mac user ever since.
Right.
You know, even if you give me a Dell computer, I will not use it.
Right.
Because I'm a Mac user.
Right.
It's something like that.
Yes.
You know, if you believe in Islam, there's no reason for you to convert to any other religion,
Yes.
because this is the faith that you believe in.
Yes,
It's a matter of faith. It is not a matter of choice between Coke and Pepsi. You can choose either Coke or either Pepsi. No. It's a matter of faith. And, you know, I said in one of my talks that, you know, faith is made from the same material as love. As much as you cannot force love,
No.
you cannot force faith as well.
Absolutely.
Because they're made of the same fabric.
Otherwise, it will just be fake.
They are made of the same fabric. Yep. Basically, if we are preventing a person from reliving a faith of Islam, basically, or people, a group of people from reliving the faith, basically we are creating a community of munafiq.
Yes.
Of munafiqin.
Yes.
And what's the purpose of that?
No purpose.
There's no purpose at all.
Yeah.
So because of that,
That means that people who force people to stay in a religion are actually creating munafiqeen on a mass scale.
definitely.
They prefer munafiqeen to
Yeah.
That's very ironic.
Yes, that's very ironic. Yeah, they didn't realize that. They thought they're preserving the sanctity of Islam,
but that's not
that's not the case. Yeah.
So, what was the reception like of your argument? Because it's a very
Yeah, it wasn't very, how do I say, well, it's very difficult for people to accept it.
Yes.
But I stood my position. And after that case in 2016, then you know, it went on for a couple of years after that. Then I left for Australia. I did my fellowship in Australia at that time.
Was that because you felt?
No. It wasn't because of this, but because I wanted to pursue my study, and I went for fellowship in cardiothoracic surgery in Australia. And over there, I went there in 2008. So in 2009, in October 2009, some lawyer friends from Muslim Professional Forum as well, they said, you know, like, it's time for you to set up your own organization, because, you know, it's very difficult, because you are still junior and they are seniors. You know, it's very difficult to convince them and to get along in MPF. So that's how I ended up. Actually, I formed IRF, the Islamic Ignorance Front, when I was in Australia. But we launched it when I came back from Australia in 2010, on 12th December 2010.
So
I launched it.
So what happened with that woman who then converted to Christianity?
He left to Australia. He left for
But
Australia.
both
Both of them left
both
for
of them
Australia and stayed in
So
Australia.
there was no space for them.
No space
in
for
this
them in this country. Yeah,
That's very sad.
yeah,
That's very sad.
yeah.
So from that time onwards, is that the only issue you've taken, or you must have taken other issues?
No, there are other issues, of course.
Yes.
But you
This
know
is how it began.
that yeah, because you asked me how I
Yes,
started,
I understand.
so I wanted to explain that. Yeah.
Yes.
So in 2010, 12th November 2010, when we launched IRF, basically.
And IRF is only in Malaysia, or is it in other parts?
Is in Malaysia, but we have fellows from Pakistan as well,
Oh, that's
who
fantastic.
became our fellows.
I would love to meet them. I would be.
Yeah, I'll send you. I'll give you
Please put me in contact.
And I have a few other friends from Pakistan as well.
Very nice.
Yeah, Professor Muhammad Arshad and a few others. Yeah, but the thing is that, like, IRF, when I founded it, I said that our idea is that to basically to reform Islam.
Right.
You know, to reform Islam is not basically to say that, you know, like, it is a new interpretation of Islam. No,
Right.
but we have to rejuvenate the thinking of what Islam is all about.
What it is.
What it is, yeah. So I think we must be able to understand that Islam is compatible to the modern society. So not Islam of the Middle East or Islam of the century, of the 6th or 7th century. Islam in the 21st century. We need to understand that. And we need to know that in order for us to understand that, the the verses in the Quran must be relevant until today. So we cannot say that, you know, this verse, some verses are basically, how do I say, even though the verses were revealed during the time of the Prophet, during the 7th century, but I believe that, you know, the idea of Islam is still relevant until the 21st century and until the end of the world.
The core idea.
The core idea. The core idea about freedom, about justice, about equality. Yeah, equality. Yes, that's very important, because I argued many times that Islam, many people say that Islam is a middle path. Like, you know, like it is not capitalistic and it's not socialistic. It's not socialism, nor capitalism. I was saying that even though Islam is not capitalism or socialism, but Islam skewed to the left as compared to the right. Islam has always promoted the idea of socialism in Islam. That's why there are so many fighters, Muslim fighters, even in Southeast Asia, who were leftists, basically. You cannot find any, you know, I've read so many books on history, even in Malaysia, the left were Islamist. They were not capitalists. They were Islamic. They were leftists. They were socialists.
You know, I mean, you can see it in this sense that in the 7th century in Arabia, that was a gigantic class struggle against the oppressors. Yeah. And I don't know if you agree with me, but I have the same view of you know, Hazrat Musa alayhi salam and also of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. That all of these three religions were movements of the oppressed against the oppressor.
Yes.
One was against the pharaohs, the other was against the Roman Empire, the third was against the Sassanids and Byzantium and so on. And we seem to have forgotten that aspect.
Yeah.
It seems that you know, we've reduced religion to just certain rituals rather than really understand the core.
Exactly.
How did that happen to us?
I believe it's because of materialism. Because I think that many Muslims nowadays, they're obsessed with the West and they're obsessed with this materialistic nature, and I think because of that they tend to see Islam in through the eyes of materialism, and that has somehow, you know, like clouded the idea that Islam is for egalitarian. Islam basically fights for the rights of the poor. Islam, you see, there's so many verses in Islam.
Yes.
Even in this particular surah, it says that, you know, like fakku raqabah means that to free oneself from bondage. And it means, if you look at the tafsir of Muhammad Asad, his exegesis in the Message of Quran, he says it shows that this fakku raqabah means that to free the people from any bondage of slavery, in terms of not only slavery but any forms of exploitation, either politically or economically.
I see. Yes.
Any form of exploitation, and
all forms of exploitation.
Yes, and now that's what we're seeing.
You're absolutely right. I think, you know, I mean, in order to move what was a primitive society in what we call the Dore-Jahliya to a new society, naturally the Prophet, peace be upon him, had to find a path to that new society. And sometimes we mistake that path for the final goal, the final destiny of humanity. Rather, what we need to see is the maqasid-e sharia, the objectives of that society, to abstract those ethical principles and then to find new solutions in any given society. Do you agree with that? That point of view?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the thing is that what we're lacking now is that the understanding that Islam is always skewed to the left. You know, like it's more socialistic in a way, right? And verses in the Quran you find a lot of verses to help the poor, to help the orphans.
Yes, absolutely. There's a verse in the Quran which is so beautiful, which says that God declares war on the money lender.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so. It's not even that we declare war. It's not that the Muslims declare. God Himself declares war on them. And that's so powerful. And the money lenders were the big exploiters of that time. It's quite wonderful. Now, there's a big debate in Pakistan. I want your opinion about it, about the role of the Hadith. There are some people who are called, let's say, Quranists.
Yes.
That they say that the point where Islam began to, change from its original spirit was with the development of the Hadith literature in the 9th century. Then there's others like Javed Ghamdi Saab, who spent some time in Malaysia as well, I believe, who say that no, that we must interpret the Hadith in the light of the Quran. Then there are, of course, others who say that the Hadith is on par and in some sort of form of equality with the Quran. There are even some people who think that the Quran must be understood in light of the Hadith. What is your take in this regard?
You see, this is a very interesting discussion because even in Malaysia, there's a movement, this Quranist movement in Malaysia.
Right.
Yeah. So, what my position on this matter is that we have to understand the scope of Quran and Hadith. To me, Quran is qat'i. Qat'i means that, like it is indisputable.
Right.
Because it came from many sources.
Yes.
Like every verse came from many sources of the companions. So, but Hadith, it is zonni. It is disputable because there's only one criteria of Hadith which is indisputable. There is the mutawatir Hadith.
Right.
Mutawatir Hadith. But how many mutawatir Hadith are there? How many?
I don't
yeah.
know.
People have argued, like some say 3, some say 7, some say more than that. But, if you do mathematics, in the end, if you look at 3, 5, 7, all these numbers, and it only came to one in the center. There's only one. Actually, there's only one hadith which is mutawatir, which is indisputable, that everyone agreed.
No one has contested.
No one has contested. Only one. And what is that hadith? That hadith says, Man kazaba ilayya muta'ammidan fallatabawwa maqadahu minan nar. Meaning to say that whoever says anything that I did not say, he has basically established himself in the hellfire.
Oh, yes, very famous hadith.
So, meaning to say that,
if you're distorting my message,
you will end up in hellfire.
And that is beyond dispute.
Indisputable. Nobody disputed that, right? Meaning to say that, it's so powerful to understand that, you cannot say, oh, this is the Prophet says this, or the Prophet says that. What is your source?
Yes.
I even just a couple of days ago had this. I went to a talk about a person who was speaking about linear time and non-linear time. Linear time and non-linear. He was saying it was based on hadith of Prophet that about this linear time and non-linear time. I challenged him. I said, tell me which hadith are you talking about? He cannot come up with hadith. So you can't say that, you're basically quoting a prophet saying, but you can't come up with it. And you don't even know the status of the hadith, whether that hadith is sahih or da'if or what. Yeah?
There could be that there is a lot of rich sources of historical material there.
Yeah.
But perhaps the problem is that we don't have a very clear criteria of demarcating what would be a good historical source from what would be a distortion over 100, 200 years of history. And a century, 2 centuries is a long time when you don't have written records.
Definitely.
So I see your point. There's a lot of debate also in the context of Pakistan especially about the decline of Muslim civilizations. I don't like to use the word civilization because ever since Samuel Huntington wrote his book Clash of Civilizations, I have, I don't really like that. But one can accept that there were many distinct civilizations that were also Islamic. in the sense that we can look at a North African civilization, we can look at a Middle Eastern, Arab, Persian, synthetic civilization, we can look at a South Asian, Indo, Muslim civilization, we can look at a Southeast Asian one, etc. So, but we have seen over time that nearly all of these civilizations, today are perhaps Malaysia is an exception, but generally that they're unable to compete. They were at the forefront of science, of learning, of philosophy, of literature, everything you can think of. The most advanced language at one time was Arabic, etc. But today when you look at the Muslim world, by and large, you find that we are nowhere in modern knowledge and so on. So so there's a big debate about why Islamic civilizations went into decline. I was wanting to pick your brains about what you think was the main reason for this happening.
It's a very interesting question, and I went to Tehran a couple of years ago. It was before COVID. Even recently, I went to Tehran again. But I gave a talk at the University of Tehran about this matter, about the decline of Muslim civilization. And to me, based on my research, what happened to the Muslims was basically, we had what is known as Baitul Hikmah, the House of Wisdom.
Yes.
Many years ago in Baghdad. Yes, in Baghdad, and we have so many, astronomers, we have mathematicians, we have physicians, we have chemists, we have all kind of intellectuals over there. So I think what went wrong with Muslims. There have been a lot of discussion about this issue, as you said, and a lot of theories about this. But if you ask me, I look at it like basically it was I would say that Muslims shunned reason, and that was the most important basically factor for the cause of decline of Muslim civilization.
We shunned wisdom.
Reason. We don't have we don't use our intellectual capacity anymore, because we basically would like to believe in tradition. In taqleed. In taqleed. Yeah, that's the word. That's a very good word. That's a very good word. In taqleed. Yeah. And I think that's the main reason that why we
Why did we do that? Why did we shun reason? Because we were leaders in it.
I think because if you look at history at that time, there was this battle among two camps. One would be the people of reason, I would call people of reason, and the other one is people of tradition. So basically, if you in Muslim term, in Islamic term, we call these people of reason as the Mu'tazila, and the people of tradition as the Ash'ari. In Pakistan, they are mainly Maturidis, but Maturidis are closer to the people of reason. But in the Arab world, in the Malay world, in this archipelago, they are more of Ash'aris.
I see. Yeah. Even in South Asia,
South Asia. Yeah. South Asia, mainly majority, I would say more than 90% are Ash'aris.
Did the madrasas play a key role in the spread of
Yes. Madrasa plays a key role in the spread of Ash'aris. Yeah. In Turkey, in Pakistan, I think there are more Maturidis over there.
What were the peculiar circumstances? I believe that this is somewhere around the, if I'm not mistaken, 12th century, the time of Imam Ghazali and Imam Ash'ari, etc. The Mu'tazili, of course, have been around for a lot longer. They were one of the first rationalist schools to emerge. If I'm not mistaken, even in the 8th century, they began to emerge quite early. So what was it? What were the peculiar circumstances in that period of Arab history that made people switch away from? Because the Mu'tazili were very powerful at one time. They were you know, during the reign of
Yes.
Al-Mamun,
Yes,
and
Al-Mamun, yeah.
and even afterwards,
Yes.
for about half a century, it was almost considered the point of view of the state.
Yes.
So what happened?
They were,
Tell the time.
yeah. I think you know, like there have been debate about it, and I believe that you know, the people of reason that time, somehow or other, because when they were close to power during the time of Ma'mun and his son, and after that, it was his grandson who basically defeated the Mu'tazilites. And
Al-Mutawakkil.
Al-Mutawakkil, yeah, you remember history very well.
Thank you.
Yeah, this I think at that time, you know, this history of Mihnah, the tribulation of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess that, you know, like it plays a role as well. You know, like when they were in power, and they wanted to enforce this idea, the Mu'tazilite idea among the people, and you know, like it was a curse upon them. But I think it was like contradictory. You know, they are the people of reason. They always ask for reason. They always ask for arguments and debate and everything. So why should they force an idea or something like that? I think probably history did not. I don't know whether history could be trusted at that time or what, or because, as you know, history is written by the victors.
Yes, of course, always.
Right.
Always.
So I do not know whether they distorted the history at that time or not. But somehow or other, because I still feel it's a bit weird for me to say that, you know, they tried to force their ideas, their belief onto others. But their idea to say that, you know, Al-Quran is makhluk, Al-Quran is created, is very important. During my younger years, you know, I've been searching for this answer. I've been asking a lot of Muslim scholars all over the world. You know, I went to Australia, I asked this question. I'm in Malaysia, I asked this question. Nobody gave me the answer. Why? Why did the Mu'tazila wanted to believe that the Al-Quran is makhluk? What's the, if it's makhluk or not? I mean, what's the importance of it?
Relevance?
What's the relevance? You know, I didn't understand at that time until I read a book by a scholar who said that the reason why this Mu'tazila believe that the Quran is makhluk, is created, is because that they don't want a duality like Christianity. Christianity believe in Trinity, right?
Yes.
The God, the Son, and the Holy Ghost.
Yes.
So they don't want a duality.
Because if the Quran is
Or
uncreated.
Uncreated means that
It's
Quran is
self-divine.
beside Allah, beside God.
Yes.
So you have two. You
Two
have
eternal
Quran.
beings.
How can that be?
Yeah,
That's shirk. That's against Tawheed.
Yes.
Tawheed is oneness of God.
Yes.
So now you have duality. You have the Quran and you have God. How could that be? And it has to be makhluk because it was basically, if we believe that God wanted it to be there, it was the sayings of God, the words of God, meaning that it's makhluk, it's being created by God.
It's being spoken.
It's been spoken. So by
Or rather, it's being revealed.
being revealed. So meaning to say that is, and the second thing, the important thing, more important than that, the duality is that it can be interpreted. The Quran can be interpreted. Meaning to say that if we look at some verses of the Quran, we will understand that, you know, like the Quran at that time was revealed at that particular time because of that, right? It must be interpreted in a way that, you know, like in the modern society, we must be able to interpret why is that particular verse at that time, and is it like what we should be understanding, what we should understand at this moment of time as compared to the time of the Prophet. So, for example, let me give one example. One example is the verse on polygamy.
Okay.
God says, right,
Yes.
you can marry 1, 2, 3 or 4, right?
Yes.
But if you cannot do justice,
Justice.
marry one.
Yes.
Just marry one.
Yes, that's right.
It cannot be just marry one.
And who can be just?
Yeah. Meaning to say that,
Yes.
what is the social context of that particular verse? The social context of that particular verse is that people have so many wives. Yes. If you read the book by Sayyid Qutb, for example, he says that at that time, people have dozens of wives.
Yes.
And over there.
Yes.
So when the verse came down,
Yes.
many of these companions of Prophet divorced their wives,
Yes.
and they kept 4. Some of them kept 4.
Yes.
Because the verse say, the verse wanted, actually, the intention of the verse is to say, marry one.
Yes.
Monogamy.
Yes.
And that is what we should understand in the 21st century.
Very interesting.
It's monogamy.
Yes.
It's not polygamy. The reason why, because that context was different from our context.
Yes. So you have to look at the objective
Yes.
of
And you can only do this if we adhere to the Mu'tazili understanding that the Quran is created.
It's a
The Quran is not created.
contextual.
Yes. That's the reason.
I see.
So when the defeat of the Mu'tazili,
Yes.
that became that no people wanted to believe, oh, now we can have polygamy, we should have polygamy, and people are promoting that. That is very wrong.
Very interesting. I have taken so much of your time, and this has been such a fascinating discussion, but I have one last question to bother you with.
Sure.
How can Muslim civilizations regain that sense of reason that can cause the reform and renaissance of our own civilization? What do we need to do today to move past this history and to emerge into the modern world?
No wonder it's your last question. It's the most difficult question for me to answer.
last. Yes. I saved the best for last.
Yeah, it's very difficult for me to answer. Yes. But to me, the most important thing is that to try and, how do I say, to basically to encourage the Muslims to think, to use their reason. Right? I think that's the most important thing. And what we are doing in Islamic Renaissance Front is basically that. Our logo, our motto is لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ, for people who think. Meaning to say that we want people to use their brain to think, right? And this is very important. If people think, and if people do not accept everything as the absolute truth, right? And people always inquire about dalil, about what is your reason for it?
Logic.
Then we are safe. If we do not do that, if we shun reason, then that's the end of us.
I see.
Yeah.
Dr. Farouk Musa, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and I'm sure you have a website and online resources.
Yes.
So if you would like to say those on the camera, then we can encourage people to read your literature.
Our website is irfront.net or irfront.org.
Right.
So it's very easy. Just go there, and there are tons of materials over there in English and also in our language.
Right.
So people can read about it. And we have been writing for the past 10 years. There are lots of things. And we have videos as well. So we recorded our seminars, our forums, our conferences. It's on Liber TV, we call it. Liber means liberty. Liber TV, LIBER TV.net. So you go there and you can find all our videos over there.
That is absolutely perfect. Dr. Farouk, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure, and I've learned so much. It's an honor to meet you, sir.
It's an honor to meet you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.